Today, we're going to be taking a close look at a modern military policy, one that really highlights this massive clash between national security needs and, well, the world we all live in, the digital world. So let's just jump right in with the central question that analyst Chandranath brings up. And honestly, it's a real head-scratcher. Why on earth would you trust a soldier with incredibly lethal weapons, but you wouldn't trust them with a smartphone? It doesn't add up, right? Well, let's unpack just how deep this contradiction really goes. And look at this. This slide just lays the paradox out so clearly. On one side, you've got soldiers trusted with literal life and death decisions, with classified information making command decisions. They're even trusted to guide their own kids through the minefield of social media. But then on the other side, when it comes to their own personal accounts, that trust just vanishes. The source we're looking at has a very specific word for this kind of treatment. And that word is infantilization. It's basically the act of treating a grown adult like a child, denying their maturity, their training, their judgment, but only in this one very specific area, while you expect them to be hyper-competent everywhere else. This right here is the core of the argument. Chandranath puts it so bluntly you can't miss it. This policy isn't about maintaining discipline. No, it's about treating professionals like they're incapable of navigating the modern world.
So you might be asking, why does this matter so much? I mean, it's just social media, right? Well, to really get it, we have to completely change the way we think about social media, especially when it comes to modern conflict.
Okay, so let's get into this key idea, the cognitive battlespace. Now, this isn't a physical place you can point to on a map. It's the battlefield inside our heads. It's the domain of perception, belief, and narrative. It's where influence campaigns and disinformation wars are actually fought. So, any guesses where this battle space is primarily located today? The analysis makes this incredibly powerful two-part point. First, you have to stop thinking of social media as just some fun, recreational thing you do to pass the time. In the context of modern warfare, it is something much, much more serious. It is the terrain. It's the actual ground where these cognitive battles are being fought every single day. The landscape, the environment, the battlefield itself, it's all happening on social media. And once you accept that, you run into a huge strategic problem. So if social media is the new terrain, what happens when your policy is to forbid your soldiers from ever setting foot on it? Are you actually protecting them, or are you doing something else entirely? The source hits us with this incredibly sharp question. I mean, think about it. How can you possibly defend a battlefield that you're not even allowed to look at? How are soldiers supposed to recognize threats, resist them, and counter them in a space they can't see or understand? The logic just completely falls apart. And here's why that's so important. The skills you need to fight in this new battle space aren't things you can learn from a PowerPoint deck. You have to develop an intuitive feel for the environment. You need that direct exposure to see how manufactured outrage campaigns get started, to track how narratives spread like wildfire, to recognize when certain groups are being targeted, and to really get a gut feeling for how algorithms push the most emotional, divisive stuff to the top. So no, the policy doesn't protect anyone. In fact, it does the opposite. It creates what the author calls enforced blindness. It leaves the very people who are supposed to be defending the nation completely in the dark and incredibly vulnerable. Okay, so this whole approach seems completely backwards from a strategic point of view, right? So what's really going on? Why have these policies in the first place? Well, the analysis suggests the real reason has nothing to do with security. It's about something a lot more simple. The true driver is what's being called bureaucratic comfort. You know, it's basically about making life easier and less risky for the people in charge, even if it comes at a massive strategic cost. And you can see why a blanket ban is so tempting for a big organization. First, it gets rid of all the messy case-by-case judgments. Second, it keeps all the control right at the top. And third, and this is probably the biggest one, it reduces any personal risk for the decision makers. I mean, if nobody is allowed online, then nobody can make a mistake online. It's clean, it's simple, and it's safe. For the bureaucrats, anyway. But here's the danger. The result of putting administrative comfort ahead of a real strategy is an institution that looks neat and tidy from the outside, but is actually incredibly fragile. It's brittle, it's rigid, and it's way too slow to adapt to new threats. And that brittleness, that's exactly the kind of weakness an adversary dreams of exploiting. And all of this brings us to the final and, frankly, pretty chilling warning from this analysis. This combination of infantilization and bureaucratic comfort isn't just a small problem. It's a critical vulnerability for national security. When you follow this policy to its logical end, there's really only one place you can end up. Because when you choose administrative ease over real-world competence, you're not creating safety, you're creating ignorance. And as Chandra Nath concludes so powerfully, in the cognitive battlespace, ignorance isn't innocence, it is vulnerability. A really sobering thought to end on as we all try to figure out this new digital age.